I still can't believe that we're not watching the Penguins play hockey tomorrow. I was ready to make my next video be the Game 1 reaction. Instead, I gotta sit here and make this video. It's the end of season media availability. They do it every year after they lose. A couple days later, all the players pretty much just talk to the media one last time until September. And the Penguins had theirs today, and a lot of interesting things were said today. A lot of things that I want to speak about. You know, there's the Malkin Letang future, a lot of unrestricted free agents coming in July. Usually when we're at the end of the year and players have expiring deals, they don't really say much. Maybe they'll mention something about how much they like playing here, or, you know, they'll say something like, I haven't thought about it yet. You know, and then we don't hear from them again until they sign their new contract in a couple months. But that's not the case here. All the pending free agents on the team right now pretty much made it clear that they'd love to come back. Starting with Rickard Rakell, who didn't spend much time here, but he says, it was a great experience for me. I've learned a lot from the players and coaches here. I feel like this team had a lot of potential. This is definitely a place I'd like to come back to and where I think I can take my game to the next level. Then he also said, I know this organization has a lot of free agents to take care of. From my standpoint, I'm just going to see what happens. I haven't put much thought into it yet. There it is. They all say that. It is. But like I said, this is a team and a place I really want to come back to. Especially that he said this is a place I can take my game to the next level. And I agree with that because he's not old, man. He's 27, I believe, or 28. You know, still in his prime. This is a guy you can go 5 or 6 years with, and I think that entire contract can be a good contract where he can produce throughout the whole thing. So if you're Ron Hextall, man, you cannot fumble this. Like, he's telling you, I want to come back. But anyways, now we go to the most interesting quotes that I read, and that is Brian Rust, who says, first of all, I'd love to return to the team, you know, just straight up and honest. Pittsburgh's a place I've been for a while. It's a place I've made a lot of memories. I like to make something work here. I mean, it's really no surprise. I would have that emotional attachment to the city and the team also if I was Brian Rust, because Brian Rust was never this big prospect that was supposed to make the NHL and, you know, have these great seasons that he's having now. They then asked him if he was thinking about his contract during the playoff series. He says, not one time, because not one time did I think we were going to lose. Obviously, I was wrong. That quote really hurts because he's all of us right there. Name me a Penguins fan who thought they were going to lose this series. We all thought we were going to see a second round this year, and it sucks so much. And then look what he says here. I'm not looking to rob anyone. I just want what I deem is fair. A reasonable contract. I think, and I hope, I'd like to think something is going to get worked out here. Like, look at this. Who says this? Like, who says I'm not looking to rob anyone? Like he's straight up telling you, please, I'd love to come back. I'll work with you. Like, give me a number and I'll play around with it. I think a fair deal for both teams is 6 years at $6 million. You know, Brian Rust is taking a bit of a pay cut because I think he can get more, and the Penguins are paying the man, giving him that raise that he deserves, and giving him the term. But the way things are sounding, maybe Brian Rust wants to take less, right? Then we have Dayton Heinen, who straight up and says, I loved it here. I love it here. I would really just love to be a fly in that dressing room for just a day, you know, practice, game, after they get everything, because all these guys are saying the same thing. They all loved it. Like, and this is a team who lost in the first round. So what was so special in that room? I just love to see, because you know these guys had a bond, and it sucks so much that they're not going to be able to continue it. But as for Heinen, he's also due for a bit of a raise. You know, he took a 1-year, $1.3 million deal as a, you know, prove it type of deal, and he did prove it. He had a pretty solid regular season, and he scored some pretty big playoff goals, and he's pretty young still. So I'd pay the guy. And the beautiful thing is the Penguins aren't going to lose him for nothing. He is an RFA. The Penguins have his rights. Then we have Kaepernick, who's also an RFA, but he did not have the type of season that Heinen had. I need to be more consistent. I had really good games this year and really bad games this year. Sir, you had more bad games. I somehow have to get my confidence back. I lost my swagger. That word, I lost my swagger, is exactly what happened to Kaepernick. Like, that's the perfect way to describe it. Anytime he had the puck last year in the offensive zone, you know, he had the confidence that I can shoot this thing from wherever and I'm gonna score. You know, just even if it wasn't true, but he had that confidence in him. He then says, mentally, it was my own fault for getting in my own head, I guess. He says he felt he let the team down. And that's very interesting, because I know we want to write off a guy like this who was really bad this year. Like, let's be honest. And I'm not comparing the two because it's two completely different players and skill sets. But Jake Guentzel last year, you know, had a pretty bad playoff run. Well, I mean, everybody did. But Jake Guentzel said the same thing, like the same exact thing. I felt like I let the team down. And look what he did the following year. Again, you can't compare the two, but look what he did in the playoffs, goal per game. So I'm thinking, like, maybe you could give a guy like Kaepernick one more chance. I'm not thinking he's going to be too expensive. And from everything he said, it seems like he liked it here. So I could see Kaepernick taking a pay cut because he knows he didn't deliver this year. You know, maybe taking a 1 year, maybe a $2 million contract to kind of prove everyone that he's still good. And if that's the case, why not bring him back, you know? Now, what you all been waiting for, let's get to the big three, what they had to say. Malkin, Letang, Crosby. Gino says, I want to stay here. I want to play in the NHL. I hope I stay here. I retire here. Malkin, I'm playing with Crosby and Letang. It's amazing. They're like my two brothers, one Canadian and one French Canadian. It's not just hockey, it's life. We spent so much time together. Sid's an amazing guy. He's my favorite player, my favorite guy. All right, Gino, you said enough. Someone give this man 8 years at $8 million. No, I'm kidding. But this guy, man, he knows how to get you in your feelings. You know, we heard Raquel say that he wants to stay. We heard Russ, you know, pretty clearly say that he wants to stay, but none of them said it like Gino essentially is begging the Penguins to bring him back. Like, he wants to stay. He also thinks he has a couple years left in him. He goes, I would like to play 3 or 4 more years. And he's pretty much letting you know, here are the years I want. Work with it. Like I want to come back. I'm going to take a pay cut. Give me a 3 or 4 year deal. Like, just do it. Like, this is Malkin. This is not a guy you just had a good season. Like, Gino's been here for so long where he could have said, I want 6 years. And you're like, you know what? No, but it's Malkin. So you got to do what he wants. And the fact that he's being really reasonable with the 3 or 4 year deal, you got to give it to him. Pittsburgh is my second hometown. I've been here 16 years. It's amazing. And then after speaking with the media, he ends it off by saying, I hope I see you next year. Like, I'm actually going to cry. Like, look at these things he's saying. Like, if the Penguins don't sign Malkin, there's something seriously wrong with the management. Like, I'm going to lose faith as a Penguins fan in the team if they don't sign Malkin after all these things he's saying. They then asked Crosby how long he wants to play, and he was straight up, 3 for sure, and then we'll see after that. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. 3 definitely. I'm glad Gino said 3 and Tanger said 5+. Now, I don't think this is Crosby telling you he's playing 3 years and that's it. I think he's just letting you know he's going to play out his contract, which is how long he has left. Then there was this big rumor that had said Crosby was cleared to play for Game 6. Well, he right away says, I was cleared Sunday morning before Game 7. Was not cleared for Game 6. So either that rumor's lying or Crosby's lying. Which one do you want to believe? The man himself or Rob Rossi or whoever made up that thing? Then we finish off with Chris Letang, who to me is the biggest question mark in all this. Chris Letang said he and Ron Hextall made it clear to each other that they wouldn't mention where things are with contract talks to anyone. Asked if he'd give the Penguins the chance to match any offer he gets. He laughs and says, of course. I really don't like the way that sounds. Like, what do you mean match other teams? Get the other teams out of here. I want the Penguins to sign him and have no one else talk to him. You know, so that kind of threw me off a little bit. I mean, of course, he's going to say that. Like, why would he not give the Penguins the chance to match it? I have a feeling the Penguins won't match other teams' offers. Chris Letang basically came out and said, I want a 5-year deal, with saying he could play 5 more years. And there's been reports saying throughout the whole year that he wants to get a pay raise, not a pay cut. So I don't see what's wrong with a 5-year, $8 million contract extension. Yes, it's a lot of money, but Chris Letang spent essentially the last decade playing on a pay cut. Like, he was undervalued big time with that $7 million contract he was getting. You look at all the top pairing defensemen and they're all getting 9+. You know, Drew Doughty is getting double digits. Carlson's getting double digits. Chris Letang probably wants what these guys are getting, but I think he's willing to take a pay cut to that, not a pay cut to what he's currently making. I think $8 million per season for what Chris Letang gives you is the pay cut comparing to what other top pairing defensemen get. I find it very disrespectful if the report was true that they were lowballing them and they were giving them these stupid offers, Gino and Letang. Again, it's a rumor, but apparently they had given them 3-year offers at $5 million each. Like, come on, man. Even Malkin, who's gonna take a pay cut, that's way too little for him. Like, come on. I do not want this era to end like this. Like, you know, kind of similar to the Chicago Bulls back then when, you know, management went crazy and, you know, kind of started disrespecting all the players and they all left with sour taste. But anyways, this is probably the most important offseason in history, one of them at least, not of all time, but it's up there. So it's going to be definitely a lot of fun to see what they do. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about all these quotes that came out today from the Penguins. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.